Welcome everybody to Fiore Calls Game. I am Andrew Fiore alongside Brandon the Con Man Con, and we have a special guest tip for you today. It's Tammi Reiss, the recently legendary coach of the URI women's basketball team. Coach, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am amazing. We just had an unbelievable practice with the squad and just finishing up. We just finished tomorrow's practice. And so just really excited kicking off the season. It's so good to be back in school.
So you've got them going right off the bat here, start of the semester.
Oh yeah, I give them the first week to get acclimated, and then we started Monday, and so we have like hour-long sessions of, with the team, and then an hour of strength and conditioning. We're allowed 8 total hours a week until the first day of practice, and then you can go 20 hours a week. But yeah, we're diving right in with the group we've got. They're very experienced, they're very skilled, and so we're already installing. It's crazy, but one of the best practices I have ever had since I've been here at URI. We got a team that's just full of energy, communication. Like it's a whole new vibe. And it's crazy how much I love this team.
Wow, that's exciting to hear. And I was curious about the departures of Sophie Phillips, a former guest on this show, and Honey Carr, if that would have a negative impact on the team. But looks like you guys have some new additions and new chemistry. That sounds exciting.
Well, you're always sad when, someone like Sophie P leaves graduates from the program because she gave 4 years and led us to one of our first championships here, and just an amazing player but a better person. So obviously we were sad losing her and her 3-point shooting, and obviously losing Honey, who was a great player for 1 year. But again, that's the great thing is as people leave, the goal is to get better, and so you're ready to move on, and you're ready to go, get some new players that are able to do what those players did, but maybe some more things added to the tool belt. And so our goal was to go out and grab some players that were really, really skilled offensively in numerous positions and could really, really shoot the ball. And I think we really, really did that well in the portal and with our freshmen.
How many new additions are there this season?
So we've got out of the transfer portal, we've got the big three. We got Brooklyn Gray from St. Louis, who is, wait till you see this player play. Now, she ate us up both times they played us. I think she had 20 plus both games. We couldn't stop her. She came from St. Louis, 5th year. We've got Tavi Habib from George Mason, who won the championship. Great 2-3 player who can really shoot the three and rebound. 5th year. And then we've got in conference, the final one, Val Ojeda from VCU, 5th year, who and can really shoot it, really pass it. And so those are 3 new faces, and they're the transfer portal. And then we signed, obviously, 5 freshmen, uh, 2 from 3, actually. Is it 3 or 2? 2 from Paris, France. One, Amy Michelle Post, 6'2", 6'3". Liliana Fancha, who's not here yet. She'll be coming next week, 6'3", 2 true posts. And then, sorry, we signed 2 new freshmen. Amori Jarrett from DC and Vanessa Harris from DC. Um, Unbelievable shooters, players. Vanessa's high school, Bishop McNamara, was ranked in the top 5 nationally. She's
Wow.
quite probably the most touted freshman we have ever signed here. And this girl can play. And so, we added those newcomers. So, I think there's 7 new faces.
That is unbelievable. And I mean, to add all those 5th years from in conference, was that by design? Did you go to the portal looking for that specifically, or did it just happen that way that you saw a lot of in conference players that you liked?
Well, we were going into the portal. We needed scoring, experience, and leadership. And last time we went in the portal, when we 22-23 season, and we won the championship, co-champion, We signed two all 6 year in conference kids, Tana Magassa and Emmy, Emma from Richmond. Um, and we won the championship, and Madison Haddocks Covington, sorry, three of them. We did the same thing this year. I want to say by design, but really the in conference, it was just, it happened again. And what I love about in conference is they're proven they can do it in conference. They know every scouting report. They know inside and out the league. So trying to learn all that coming from other conferences, it's so rewarding when you can grab kids that have been here for 4 years that know the league inside and out and they're great players. And so it worked out this way again. And I really love in conference transfers.
I just want to welcome onto the stage here Kyle, our other guest.
Hey, I'm so sorry I'm late. Thank you for coming on, Tammy. I appreciate it.
No worries, Kyle. Welcome.
Yeah, I was getting out of the football for the day, so I had to rush over here, but I'm here.
Well, there's that brings up another interesting question now. How have you, in your time here, gotten to interact with the coaches and players from other sports on campus? And what do you have to say about the network between the different teams for URI?
It's funny. This summer, I stayed. I didn't have USA basketball, which I've had the past 4 years. I've been gone most of the summer. So I got the chance to stay here, and I worked out all our players every day. And Fridays, we play pickup. And so I come in to watch them play pickup, and here's Devin Harris, and here comes AJ Pena, and here comes like 8, 9 football guys, and they played with us every Friday. And then they started coming a little bit more. The last pickup I think we had of the summer, there was like 24 football guys in there. And we're doing runs, and then we have prov girls come down. So, the interaction, we're really, really, really tight with the football guys, but the interaction is so close with teams that you get to know. And I told our girls this, like, you got to go support all the sports here at URI. Obviously we're very tight with football. The men's basketball has a very different squad this year, just the nicest guys ever, and a little bit more interactive within, the other sports. And so it starts to happen. Volleyball, soccer, we're all in the weight room together on a daily basis. And the training room. And so they're really starting to mesh and interact with all the other sports, and support all the other sports, men and women. And I absolutely love it. Obviously I know Coach Flem very well. And I know Archie very well. I've gotten to know Lori, the track, coach, very well. Megan, the soccer, Gareth. I support all the sports, but obviously I'm closer with some than others, but it's a real family here. And that's what I think makes Rhode Island so special. It's what I love about our student athletes.
Yeah, what drew you to come here to Kingston? You talk about the culture, how much you've gotten ingrained in it, but what drew you in the first place before you got here?
When I was researching, and I was at Syracuse, and we had just gone to a national championship and lost to UConn in the final game. Um, and I was getting a lot of calls from different places and emails about becoming a head coach, and I had a certain criteria. It's just like a player when you're choosing a college. You've got a list of your must-haves. The first one was it had to be on the East Coast because I have to be close to my family, my whole family who's in New York, and most of my family's on the East Coast. Um, the second criteria is I wanted a good conference, um, that was known, that was at a certain level. If I wasn't going Power Four or BCS, I really wanted the Big East or the A10. And third was I needed an AD that supported, women's basketball and had resources enough to win. You've got to be able to be competitive. I wasn't going to take a job to become a head coach and lose, where the school didn't invest in women's basketball. And so once I met with Thor, obviously Rhode Island, boop, checks a box, East Coast, A10, great conference. Then I came to Rhode Island. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Fits my culture, the beach, the sun, all of it. And then there was Thor. And he really signed it was done when I met him and we started talking and had a breakfast together. And once I visited here, it was a done deal, because it checked every box for me and what I was looking for as a first time head coach. And it was actually an easy decision for me.
I just want to hop in real quick. Being that I've worked in athletics here for a while, and all of us have, we get to know Thor, and he's a phenomenal guy. And I just wanted to ask, like, what does it mean to be able to have such a great relationship with the athletic director? He has so much to oversee, but obviously, you have the support. So, what's it like to have that great of a relationship with an athletic director?
It does. It means everything because I've been in organizations, in college organizations, big business, and I mean big business. And ads, they got to fundraise. They've got so much on their plate that at that level, a lot of times they're not a relationship ad. They can't be. They got to go out and build a new football stadium, not a $45 million one. Try like a 500 million-dollar one. And so there is no relationship. It's minimal. It's business. And I'm more into the relationship part of it. Through good times and bad times, when you have an AD that you have a great relationship with, not just outside of basketball or outside of athletics, that really depend on and you trust, it's everything. It's like player coach relationship. And so it's really, really important to me. And Thor is just, he knows everybody. He knows all our student athletes. He knows all our coaches. He spends time with the relationship part. He's that kind of guy. And that's what I was looking for. And so it means everything to me. Throughout the year, through good times, bad times, he's always there to support, and it makes a difference. It really does, especially for head coaches. That this is a tough business, and having a reliable, trustworthy AD full of integrity, it means the world to me.
So once you built this program up, you had a chance to leave and go bigger, even to your alma mater, Virginia. I assume all of these factors that you just mentioned played a huge role in your decision to stay here.
It did. Everyone, when I was younger, I probably would have left. If I was younger, I probably would have left because when I was younger, and you don't know this until you gain experience and wisdom comes with age, but I was driven by, the shiny, the name, being, the highest level I could possibly go, money, materialistic things, all the things you look for when you're young. Very few have the wisdom to understand fit. And where I'm at my point in my life, it had to be a perfect job. It really did for me to upend the balance I have here of not only my professional career, but my personal life. I like to have balance. I like to be able to go home to my family and spend time. Um, I don't, if I would have taken my UVA job, if I would have gone down there, I would have had to spend every waking minute building that program back. And I mean, every waking minute. It consumes you. And I talked to multiple people. Dawn Staley, who I played with at Virginia, who built South Carolina into a powerhouse. She had no life for 5 years. None. There wasn't a day she didn't work till midnight. And, that was years ago. So she was much younger. Well, now when the Knicks interviewed her or other people are coming, we're in our 50s now. It's a different where you're at. And so through experience, happiness is everything to me, family, my health, my sanity. I'm really happy where I'm at right now. And so, you know, Virginia, although it just wasn't perfect. The resources weren't perfect. My AD, the relationship with Carla, I didn't feel it like I did with Thor. So same thing, not many people know this, but behind the scenes, I interviewed for Prov. They called and I had to sit down with Prov. And, um, that I wouldn't have to move and I could have jumped to the Big East and, going to a basketball school. Um, but again, I don't think I could deal with being the most hated person in Rhode Island if I leave Rhode and go to Prov. I could never see that happening. And my loyalty to Thor and to URI, I don't think I could ever do that. Now I could leverage URI a little bit and say I was interviewing with Prov, but and Steve's a great guy. Providence is an unbelievable institution, but again, it wasn't perfect. And so I'm looking for perfect fit, and it's got to satisfy every part of the checklist to even remotely get me to move from URI where I'm at. And I am happy. I am healthy. I love it here. And so, sometimes, the grass isn't always greener. And I have the best life ever. So that's what holds me here. It really does. And I'm very, very happy.
Coach Reiss, these are extremely difficult decisions to make on your own. So from just like a human standpoint, obviously you got your family somewhat nearby, but when it comes to decisions like that, turning down Virginia job, not being as interested in a Providence job, who else do you look to as somebody of your stature with so many resources like Don Staley? Who do you really look to help guide you through this? Because there's no way you could, I mean, even with someone of your manpower, there's no way anyone should have to make those decisions alone.
Well, first and foremost, it comes from you. You got to feel it. So if I have an inkling and it intrigues me, then it comes from me. And the first person I ask is my partner, her name's Crystal Reiss, although we're not married. She, is this someplace you want to live? Is this someplace, if I take it, our lives are going to be upended? Is this restart your business? And so your life partner, obviously, your soulmate, that's the first person, because if they won't have a life of where we go, then now that disrupts my life. Because if happy wife, happy life, if you don't have a spouse that's happy with it's never going to work then. And so that's the first person I go to. Obviously, my agent knows me very well for 25 years, 30 years now. We've been best friends. Um, you know, her advice, and then my parents, obviously my mother and father. Because if I were to leave and say go down to North Carolina, they would move from New York, and they're retired, they would follow. So, is that something they'd be interested in? And then ultimately it's your decision. But I take input from those people, those four people. And then I'll ask, other coaches, what was it like? My network of, coaches that have done it, and what their experiences have been like, because they've gone through it. They know what it takes and what has to happen. So it starts with those four people, though. That's my camp.
I'm curious about your relationship with Dawn Staley. I never knew you guys were teammates before. What is she like behind the scenes?
We weren't just teammates, we were roommates the whole time. We're partners in crime. Like, that's my bestie. Man, we had some good times. And it's funny because back in the day, you see the new Dawn Staley. Dawn, back in the day, when we were 18 years old, she never spoke. She was the shyest thing you could ever imagine. The best player you've ever seen, Naismith Player of the Year 2 years in a row. But she didn't blossom into that leader till about our junior senior year, of a vocal leader, of a she grew so much, but completely different individual now. And it started at UVA. That started her growth journey of just being in a place that was completely uncomfortable for her, from coming from Philly to Charlottesville, Virginia, which is old money, predominantly a white school. Academic level was incredible, up there with the Dukes and the Stanfords and the Northwesterns. And so it just grew her. It was that experience led her to who she is today. And you look at her, one of the GOATs now in women's college basketball. So, and that was my ride dog. We were thick as thieves. But the silliest, goofiest, most fun person you've ever been around. That's why we're friends. Prank somebody every day. Stay up till 2, 3 in the morning watching movies every day. We never slept. And so we had the best 4 years of our lives there. We loved it. And so, yeah, she is an incredible, fun person.
Just to kind of piggyback off that a little bit, and this goes for Dawn or just players that you may have, coached in general, or, in the past played with, but is there certain qualities or things you see about people where you know, maybe become a head coach later on, you're like, okay, well, that made sense? Or is there certain things you saw about Dawn where you're like, yeah, I think she's going to end up being pretty good at this whole coaching thing?
It's funny you say that. I remember the exact moment that I knew, because Dawn was like, I hate coaching. I'll never coach. You know, that the whole thing when you're young, I'll never do that. And we just lost to Tennessee in the national championship game in overtime. And Dawn missed the layup to send it, to win it in regulation. She got fouled, but they didn't call it. So I lived with her. So I come in the suite, and this is in the spring, right after we lost. And you know, you're playing pickup, you're working out, you're doing whatever. But every day I come in the suite, and we had VHS back then, videotapes. She'd be watching the game in the living room, and she'd look at me and she's like, T, come here, you got to see this. If we would have done that, and I'm like, what are you doing? This is 30 days straight of all you do is watch this tape and analyze it. And she's like, I can't get over it. If we would have, should have, could have done it. And that's the moment where I went, yeah, I don't care what she says. She's going to end up being a coach. I don't care at what level it is. That's when I knew she was obsessed with the X and O's of the game, learning the game, advancing. That's when I knew that she would make a hell of a coach, or she would even be interested in, because she was that person. And that was back in the day when you didn't have technology. There was no really film. She would get the film, rewind. I mean, literally, you're on a VHS tape, and she watched it, I swear to God, all spring and all summer until the next year. Was just obsessed. And that's when I knew Dawn Staley was going to be a coach.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, what else did you take away from Virginia, your time there, that really developed you into who you are now as a coach, beyond just your relationship with Dawn Staley?
You know, I think it was the reason why our whole team is involved in college athletics. I mean, or the pros. Jenny Busek coaches at the Indiana Pacers with Rick Carlisle. I coach here. Dawn coaches at South Carolina. Tanya's got 10 rings at UConn. Um, you know, Audra Smith was head coach at Clemson. Melanie's an AD. Our whole team is involved in college athletics. And the reason being is we had the best student athlete experience ever at UVA. Not just winning, I mean academic experience, athletics, socially, the whole nine. And it was because of our coaches. They let us have that balance. They made everything we did fun. And we fell in love with college athletics, our whole experience. And so it's one of the reasons I coach not in the WNBA and I coach in college, is that same feeling. I want to give my players that same thing, help them reach their goals and their dreams, which is what our coach did for all of us, mentor them, and then give them the best 4 years of their life. Let them enjoy this time. You're only going to get these 4 years once. And when they're gone, and they go quick, you have to grab every piece of college that you actually absolutely can. A lot of coaches get so obsessed with just basketball. That's all they live it. They have no balance in their life. So thus their kids have no balance. Ride or die, everything lives on basketball. And that's not what, being a student athlete is supposed to be about. And so it's the thing I took away the most from Debbie. She let us have that. And then she was a player's coach, man. She trusted us. She let us play. She let us, just run the show. And developed us to do that, developed great leaders. And so that was my biggest takeaway from when I looked back on, and to this day, how much fun we had, how much we loved our experience. And that's key for me. And being in this position is people who come here, I want to give them that. I want them to have that best 4 years of their life. So when they leave, they don't go, I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
I was in classes all last year with Sophie, and I definitely got that impression that, they enjoy being student athletes at URI. You let them have that balance, and you could see the results on the court. Do you think that's the number one thing you did to build this program back up to prominence here at Rhode?
Well, I think I did an okay job previous years. Some years better than others. As a coach, again, you get better with age and experience. And there are times where I don't think I did a very good job at that balance. And that's why this year is so, it's just a pivot year for me. It's going to be the best year of my life. And I'm going to do everything I say I want to do and how I want to do it. And so not every year has been great. I try my best, but this year we're going to have, the best years of our lives. We're going to enjoy this year to a great deal. I think the reason we turned the program around, yes, that's one of the parts, but the biggest part was instilling a culture on how you do things every day. And when I first got here, oh my God, they won like 3 games that year. The year before I came, they had all kinds of problems off the court. Their academic GPA was horrendous because there was no culture. There was no foundation of this is who we are and this is how we do it, and that the standard is excellence. And so we had to completely build this from the ground up, and it starts with your foundation on what you allow and who you are. And then you go and recruit student athletes that fit that and that will emulate that. And Sophie Phillips was a perfect example of that. You couldn't have anyone represent URI from my standpoint of every characteristic that young woman had. And so it's culture. That's your foundation on who you are and how you do things. And it's how you do anything is how you do everything on the court, in the classroom, in the community. And that's how we built, a respectable program, was with a strong foundation of high character young women.
So to go from that absolute bottom of 3 wins and the problems off the court, like you just mentioned, and then just a few years later, that 2022-23 season where there's confetti on the Ryan Center court must have been incredibly satisfying to you.
I like to build things. I'm a builder. I don't like to inherit things. There's two different types of people. The inheritors are, you go to a program and the team, same players, you get them, everything's set up for you, winning, all of that. I'm conversely different. I enjoy going somewhere where I get to clean house and I get to start anew the way I want to do things. And I like going from the bottom to the top and building it my way. I enjoy the process. And so when we did it, it was extremely satisfying. That's what fulfills me is, as a player going from, a nobody in a small rinky dink town and then getting to get a college scholarship and then getting to the WNBA. And then that's extremely satisfying. You know why? Because I worked for it. It wasn't given to me. And that's the type of person I am. So, yes, when we finally won a championship, it was like you just look back at the process of where you came from and how you did it. And it feels really, really good.
Now, getting to your WNBA career, you were a first round pick. That moment that you knew you were going to be playing on the biggest stage in women's basketball, what was going through your head?
It's funny. I never thought it would happen because I had been graduated 5 years earlier. There was no WNBA in 1992. And I went straight to drama school. I didn't go overseas. I was done for playing for a while because, losing 3 Final Fours, it was heartbreaking to me. I had to step away for a while. And I ended up signing with an agent, going to drama school, and started acting. So here comes the WNBA 5 years later. And I get a call from the president, who was a Virginia alum, Val Ackerman. And she says, Tammy, I want you to come to the combine. You'd be an unbelievable player in the league. So, would you want to come to the combine? And I said, yeah. So I packed up my car. I was in LA. I packed up my car. I drove cross country back to New York. I had 6 months to train. I hadn't played in 5 years, although I was in great shape because I was a fitness model and actress. Started with my high school coach, my trainer, and played with the boys, pickup leagues everywhere. Flew down to Orlando, had camp for a week, and then went to the draft. And I'm sitting there and I'm just praying. I don't care if I go 8th round. I just want to play in the league. I want to fulfill my middle school dream and high school dream of becoming a pro. And, suddenly I'm in the green room and, I hear, and with the fifth pick, the Utah Stars select Tammi Reiss. And I couldn't believe it. Walked out on the stage and got my jersey with Val and my parents and my trainer, Mr. T. He was in the crowd, and it just was a full circle moment. It's one of the top five of my sports moments in my career that I'll never forget. And it's that special because that was a long and winding road.
Was that the inaugural class?
Yes, that was the first year. I'm first year.
Oh, wow. I just wanted to hop in on that. So being that you obviously were there at the very beginning, what does it mean to you, not only as like a current basketball head coach of, women's basketball, but as someone who was a professional, WNBA player? What does it mean to you to see the league taking off as it does? The popularity is probably as high as it's ever been. The girls are making more money than ever. Like, what does that mean to you to see that?
It's very fulfilling. It also means that everyone involved in the women's game, everyone from coaches to players, sportscasters, people who do podcasts and promote us, everybody that is just stuck with it and keeps pouring and giving back and promoting our league, our game, not our league, our game. They all have a hand in a role in where we're at right now. And women's basketball has never been hotter, ever, ever. For the NCAA viewership for women's basketball to beat the men, it's never happened. It happened last year. The WNBA selling out almost every arena you go to. Um, it's just incredible. And so, again, as a women's feminist, a women's basketball, someone who's been playing since the 70s, to watch where our games come, it just fulfills my heart. And to look at our next generation and where the opportunities they're going to have. It's very gratifying for all of former players that have given their blood, sweat, and tears to the game of women's basketball.
So, what did you do as a brand ambassador off the court during your first year or so in the WNBA to showcase what the league was all about?
It's funny. I actually, kind of was the face of the Utah Stars. So in the off season, I stayed in Utah and I worked for the Jazz. I did all our public appearances, all our speaking engagements, and promoted the Stars. And then I worked the sideline. I did the visitors locker room for K Jazz for the television. So I got to be, with Jordan and Pippen and Shaq and Kobe and every visiting team. And then I get them to be a guest on my interview at post game. And then I had my own TV show on Sundays called, it's just a half-hour TV show. So I really promoted our game in Utah, and year round. And so it's where I really learned the business of basketball on and off the court and fell in love with it. And so, being a brand ambassador for my team and then also the league, I think I had like 12 endorsements with different companies. I'd fly all around and have to do, signing gigs. And it was a really good time. It really was. And I can remember the best, this was another surreal moment, is I grew up a Laker fan. Magic Johnson's the reason I played basketball, Kareem, Worthy, all of them. I hated the Celtics. I loved the Lakers. And so the first time I walked into the Forum to play, and there's the banner of Magic and Kareem, and then Magic's courtside, or the Garden in New York, like the Mecca. It was the most surreal feeling that you can have. It's like, imagine you grow up a Tom Brady fan and you can't wait and you get drafted and you get to run on the stadium in Gillette, and that's your first game. That's how I felt every night. It was incredible walking into these arenas, and after games you're signing autographs for 2-3 hours. But that's what we did to promote the league, to keep the league going. And you look now, we're going on 2026, and that was 1997. So 29 years is pretty good.
Did you learn a lot from being in those visitor locker rooms and seeing the mentalities that guys like Kobe and Jordan carried?
It was crazy interviewing, the different, personalities and the different, from John Stockton to someone like Dennis Rodman, and, their mentalities and their stories and what it took. But yeah, from, also the coaches, the different styles of coaching. There's so many greats back then, but we had Jerry Sloan, who was old school, hard nosed, and then you had Phil Jackson, who was the philosopher. My favorite of all time was Pat Riley, and so interviewing them and getting a chance to be, and they let you come to their practices, they let you do it all. So watching their philosophies and their coaching styles, I mean, I stole from everybody. I really did. And how they coach their players, different players, their different philosophies. And so, I do a lot of it now. I've got actually, I've got a combination, I think, of a little bit of Phil Jackson, a little bit of Pat Riley, a little bit of Gino Auriemma, and you kind of steal from everybody and mix it up and fit it to you. But I learned a tremendous amount from the greats that I was fortunate enough to be allowed to be around and to witness and interview and be able to steal from.
Has your time acting come out at all in your performance as a coach? Maybe some of the speeches or the sideline reporting when you were with the Jazz and the Stars?
Well, if you're an entertainer, and that's what basketball players are, that's what, my nickname was Hollywood in college, because I love the camera. I love the crowd. I'd give them everything they wanted. You know, you're there. They're coming to see you play. Give them a show. I love it. So naturally, when I took my first acting class, it was the same thing. And you'll need it a lot when you're a coach. So being a chameleon is really, really important as a coach. So you're going to meet thousands and upon thousands of people. You got to go into their homes for official visits or high schools, and you got to be able to adapt to different environments in different scenarios, different cultures, and you got to be able to, adapt and become that for say in that. Don't lose sense of yourself, but you better be able to communicate and adapt in a way that they can relate to you. And so you're a chameleon. It's just like acting. You take on a new persona. That's why I love it. You get to be someone different every day, a new role, a new part, whatever it is. When you go out to public speak, you better not be internal. You can't be an introvert. You've got to walk in a room and light the room up with your energy. You got to captivate people. And so that you learn very quickly in acting class. You get very comfortable in your skin, no matter if you're talking to thousands of people or one person. And so, yes, it's played a pivotal role in becoming a leader, a public speaker, being comfortable with people, relationshiping.
Kind of going back to adapting and still a little bit back further when you're talking about sponsorship deals and things like that. How would you say like you have adapted, and have you seen other coaches and people in college athletics adapt to NIL and kind of the changing landscape of college athletics?
Well, to be a successful coach, you're going to have to be fluid and adapt to whatever gets thrown your way. And really, it's every 3 months now. We have new rules, we have new this, we have new that. And if you don't, you'll find yourself miserable, and you'll probably get out of the game. And some coaches don't believe in their why. Every coach has a why they coach. Some coaches, it's so far removed from their why that they don't want to coach anymore. So they've gotten out of their game. You see it in the men's side and you see it on the women's side. For me, I love college athletics so much that, I'll adapt in order, and I still believe there's high character kids, and I still believe in 4 years out of school. And I do, and that's still my goal. But I also, I can adapt with the NIL and the transfer portal, and I want to. And so understanding branding and the ability to earn and, you know, still mentoring my young women to be able to earn, but not lose sight, keeping the main thing the main thing. And I tell them that all the time. And the main thing is basketball. Don't get caught up in, I have social media, I'm doing this and I got this and I got this. Listen, if you're not a good basketball player, that could all go away. The main thing is basketball. That's the main thing. Basketball, and then education and basketball. That's the main thing. And I truly believe that. And I have really high character kids that most of our kids have NIL deals now. None of them had them last year. None of them. This year we have some kids with NIL deals, and they're still high character kids. They show up and work hard every day. They're good people. So I believe you can have both. And so it's the reason I'm still coaching college athletics. I still love it. And I've adapted to, the NIL and the transfer portal. I believe in it. I think we need to control it a little bit. But I still believe in it. And so, and it's been a good thing. I truly do. It's been a good thing. And once I think in 2 or 3 years down the road, when we have it set and a little bit more uniform, I think it'll be an even better thing.
Con, I saw you had something at some point.
Yeah, I mean, most of my questions either you guys have been getting to, or she just answers right off the bat. I guess what I can ask is, how specifically do you think we can, or the NCAA rather, conform the transfer portal, make it a little less chaotic? Do you think students should be limited to the amount of transfers? Like, how do you think we turn this chaos and we control it?
I have always asked this question to even to pro coaches and GMs and owners. Imagine if you had free agency every year in every sport. Imagine it. You can't. Coaches, pro coaches go, whoa, 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 and GMs, you can't. It's impossible. Well, that's what we have. It's what we have. We have an open market, and it's bevied heavily towards the student athlete, where I can just transfer 4 or 5 years as much as I want, and I can play. And, I believe in transferring. I believe in finding the right fit. But I believe in, a limit on it. So and I don't know what that limit is yet. We'd have to have discussions, but, I think everyone should get one transfer, everybody, and play right away. 4, because you're chasing money. Well, if you need to transfer 4 times, there's an issue. That's not the college experience. It's not. But then again, people are saying this isn't the college experience. They're pros. They're pros. And although we still use the term student athlete when they're pros. And so, I believe in putting a cap on it. I believe one time. And then if your coach leaves, you get another and be able to free. You'll have some other rules that come in where you can transfer and not have to sit. But I don't believe in a free market every year. It's chaos. And it hurts the true fan of getting to know student athletes. It's what made Caitlin Clark so popular, where the men were going pro after 1 year or transferring or going all over the place. And you couldn't follow stories. You couldn't follow one player, a great player, for 4 years. He was going pro after a year or two. And so you don't have great stories. I think Danny Hurley was the best story of college basketball, the men's side, because he was explosive, the antics, but Caitlin Clark, she was chasing a record, and you followed her, and now she's this, and everyone followed her, and it became a national sensation. Well, that'll happen if you stay somewhere for 4 years. When you got people leaving early and transferring, and you just, there's no storylines. There's no, the fans don't get to know their student athletes anymore. Who are you cheering for? You got a new team every year. It takes away from the college experience. I truly believe that. And so I think there should be some limits on the amount you can transfer. But it's hard now to reel it back in, because now you're limiting my ability to make money. Antitrust. Now it'll be a lawsuit. Now it's almost impossible to reel back in.
I really like what you said. It's almost like free agency for every player every single year. And as a coach, that must be, I mean, I'm going to say it again, chaotic. Like, that's just, I don't even know, because you don't know who you're going to lose, who's going to stay, other than, verbal commitments and that sort of thing. But the absolute insanity of every single player being open to move is absolutely wild. And I think it takes a toll on the coaches who are, long tenured coaches like yourself, who are there for a while. And I was wondering, like, when you have players that enter the portal but then end up coming back, what is the communication that's like? Are you really trying to advocate for, like, okay, you're in the transfer portal, but I would like you to stay? Like, what does a conversation with a player like that look like? You know, they have intentions to leave, but you want them to stay, and you negotiate. How does that work?
Just you use the word negotiate. We have meetings right off the bat with our players, and some players are like, listen, I want to go in the portal, and we'll say, as a staff, okay, you can go in the portal. Some we go, you can go in the portal, and we want you to go in the portal. And others, will say, well, we'd love you to stay. What's it going to take? And they want to test the market. It's like, free agency in the NBA. They go out and they test the market. Now you've got to match it. And then the price goes up and up and up, and then you might get priced out, or they might decide to stay. I found that, once people go in the portal, um, they're looking for something. They are. And as a head coach, I want them to be happy. Ultimately, that's my thing. And if they were to come back and say, oh, I want this now, and this and this and this, and that, a lot of times, nah, that's okay. I let them go. Um, because they were testing the market, they wanted to leave. A lot of times I'll ask our team, well, what do you think? And nah, let them go. We're good. It can also mess with the dynamic a little bit, and how the negotiations happen really are important to me. It's about relationshiping. You know, um, I don't want to be an agent. I don't want, it to become a money thing only. And sometimes there'll be hard feelings after that. I know me. And so if I feel that way, if I feel like a player's overpriced, what one team will pay and we don't need to pay, um, and then I'll feel some sort of way. If I paid and that player doesn't perform, I have a right to feel some sort of way, because we're paying you and you're not showing up and working hard. You're not putting up numbers. They're a pro. They still want to be considered. They don't want what comes along with that. But in reality, if you're not doing that, you get fired in any other job. NBA, they cut you. Get out of here, man. He's a bust. Get rid of him. We'll eat the contract. He's horrible. Um, and so I know me. Usually when they go in the portal, very rarely do I take them back.
When a player's not bought into the program and what you're offering, how much leeway do you give them? Where do you think that's something that can change over the course of a season? Do you think you can get to them and get them to buy into your brand? Or is it something where if somebody's not immediately bought in, you don't want to bother with them?
No, I'll never say I don't want to bother with them, because that's your job, is to mentor them through the year. Um, but there will come a time in anything, any relationship, anything, there's a point of no return. And it can happen. It really can, where, listen, people get married and there's divorces, because at some point, sometimes you grow apart, you want different things. What you thought you wanted from as a coach or as a player, that's not it. And now you made a mistake. And so I respect that, but my job is to, mentor them, give them every opportunity, to be a part of our program. But, there's been some players where halfway through the year, whether you're dealing with them, and then, I'll tell you this, people that go in the locker room and ruin our locker room with the negativity, and we call them energy vampires and all that, I will not tolerate. From this point on, they'll be gone. They will be suspended, and we will not deal with that. That's just one case, or parents that do the same thing, because they're part of our family too. So that I will not tolerate anymore. And it's hard sometimes as a coach to find it out, but once you do, you got to cut the cancer. So that's the only time, that I would really suspend a player, or get them away from the team, is if they're negatively really influencing the team.
You're someone who's set in your convictions. You have a strong sense of who you are, and you have your own process that you stick to. Is that something that you've kind of had a sense for your whole life, that you just knew who you are and what you believed in? Or is that something you picked up over time? And if so, how did you do that?
You know, I think I was born with a type A personality, that I do know. I'm just very aggressive. I was always an alpha. Um, but you know, I can't always say I was so strong in my convictions. And that comes with experience as you grow and you make mistakes. And we all make mistakes. And then you learn and you kind of, I'll never do that again. I'll never. And you also grow as a person, so you change a little bit as you get older. And now I've become a little bit, different. As I age, it just naturally happens. I do know this as a coach, though. There's I'm all about character and culture. I am. And I love, growing young women. But, at the same time, I found that I enjoy players, young women that need me, and want me. And what that means is, as a coach, they value a relationship, and they may have some issues that, you know, they deal with on a daily basis, that they actually need me to help them. And whether it's their home life, or boyfriend or girlfriend problems, or any kind of problems that they have, I've actually found that I'm more attracted to those players than the perfect little robot, the perfect person that doesn't need you. As a coach, where when I was younger, I used to love the perfect person. I used to love it because I didn't have to, they didn't steal any energy from me. They didn't need me. It was like I could just coach basketball. And now, as I've gotten older, I actually veer towards the ones that need me to grow them, need me. And that's why I think I still coach. And so, that's changed a great deal since I've been coaching, a great deal. And those are the type of players I actually look for now. And I actually have the best relationship with, a true relationship, real conversations, and a real relationship. So that's changed a great deal as I've gotten older in my coaching career.
How's your relationship with the student base at URI beyond just the athletes been? A lot of the media members think of you very favorably, and there's a sense coming out of your press conferences where we all leave thinking like, man, I want to run through a wall right now. Do you bring that sort of energy to the students, and how have they really, the few interactions that you probably had, how have they helped build the program into what it is today, the fan base?
Well, I try my best. Again, you're at the University of Rhode Island. It's not just, I'm with women's basketball or athletics. And so I try to get up on campus, and you'll see like sororities and fraternities doing fun things with pies in the face and everything. And I participate in that. When groups ask me to speak, like the women's sports group, I definitely, I try to give all my time, as much as I can, to the student body. If the welcome speech up at the quad for freshmen, I'm a part of that. I try to do as much as I can on campus for our student body to promote our university and all the things we have here. But that's an integral part of being a part of a community and a family. It's not just athletics, it's the University of Rhode Island. And so, all our sports media people who cover us, it's really, really important what you guys do. And I value that. And so anything I can ever do, obviously, to help you and endeavor in your career, and whether it's our interactions post game or in game interviews, things of that nature, that's really, really important to me. And I value that. So anytime I can give back to the student body and the university, I want to do in every way, shape, or form. And because I'm part of this community.
Do you worry at all about trying to get students to show up to the games more? There was a bit of a spike and then it went back down. At least that's what it looked like to me. Or do you kind of let that sort of thing work itself out?
you know, Being part of, the marketing team, with the Utah Jazz and the Stars, it's really hard if you're in an environment that, you can try to promote your team as much as possible, but you also have to do the market, the research analysis on who is coming to the games and who can you target that, would come to the games and stay dedicated and loyal. And I found that the older market here in South Kingston, obviously retired, that don't have much to do, families with young girls. So when you start to do your market analysis, you start to see, and the student body has just been very difficult, men and women. It's not like it's been, in the past couple of years, a basketball school where, I would love to. I've come from some unbelievable basketball schools. San Diego State has the show, and I mean, this student section is insane. And the things they do, they travel, they go to Vegas, they go to the tournament, they have billboards in Vegas. Like, and that's a Greek guy started that. And it's kept through in the same Greek system and the same, and now it's been handed down generation to generation. But that's part of their college experience. That's what they do. They're the show. And I was hoping someone here would start that at URI. But I'm a head basketball coach. It's, I want to market to the student population, but that can take a very small amount of my time. It's getting our marketing team, making sure we have theme nights, making sure they target ticket sales, go to the people that, are renewals, introducing new families, new young girls, athletes. We know our target audience, and it just hasn't been the student body.
Switching gears a bit here, can you tell us your best travel story? Because Sophie P was kind of saying that you're a bit of fun on those trips.
No, my best travel story, I think, for me, it happened at, I think it was San Diego State. I was an assistant coach, and every time I told you I'm a big prankster, and that's all we did in college is prank people and have fun and create memories. So I remember at San Diego State, it was my first year, and they were at pregame the night before. Sorry, it was like dinner when we got to a city. We were at a hotel, beautiful Marriott. And I went to one of the players' rooms who was like, "You'll never scare me. You'll never prank me, blah, 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 blah." And I went and got her key. And I went in the bathroom, and I was in the tub waiting for them. And I had the curtain drawn. And so she came in and went to go on the toilet. And as she put the light on and I heard the thing go up and she went to sit down, and I came out, and I mean, I literally scared the living hell out of her. I almost injured her, but things like that. I've got a million of those where I dressed up in a werewolf costume one time on the road. I took the costume with me, and I got somebody, just stuff like that. But I was trying to get our team to get more involved in creating memories and doing things. And, but that's probably my best, on the road story. But, those are the things that we would do on a regular, like literally on a regular, every day, 100 times a day. And we have the best memories in college. And so I try to tell our team, do some stuff. Here's what I used to do. And I tell them, now these things you should not do anymore. You'll get arrested. But this is what we used to do. And it was just crazy stuff. But, again, I like having fun. We work hard, and I like you to play hard and create those memories. So you have a nice balance. But this year's team will do it because they're crazy. We've got a lot of personality on this team. I'm scared at times. So that's telling you something.
Well, I know opposing coaches already knew not to mess with you, but I guess any incoming players hearing these stories have to learn the lesson not to mess with you, especially when it comes to a prank war. But we're hitting our hour limit here. Tammi, this was unbelievable. I feel energized as I always do listening to you speak, and a lot of life lessons for anybody to be learned from this.
Well, that's part of your journey. And I'm a coach that believes in growth and the process. And so every year I just try to get better. I'm not set in stone. I've made a lot of mistakes as coaches, as being a coach, but my goal is to just get better every year, and really grow. And that's my advice to anyone is get uncomfortable, do things you're not used to doing, and just grow. And that's the only way to do it is, You know, you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to succeed. But if you keep trying, you keep doing new things, you're going to grow and you're going to become a better person. And when you're a better person, the sky's the limit. And I tell my girls that. So that's my advice.
Hey, like Fiore said, you got the real run through a wall type of aura, as the kids say these days, that that you bring to all your pressers and this show as well. Really appreciate you stopping on, giving us some life, and I'm jacked. I'm ready for the season. The way you're talking about the group of young women that you got going on this year, I'm ready, and I'm really pulling for you guys this year, as I am every year.
No, you guys are gonna, I'm telling you, come out. You're gonna enjoy this team. We got offensive firepower now. It's gonna be a fun squad that can score the basketball and really is high energy. And I mean high energy. You know, behind the back passes, over the head, like we got some skill players. And so again, this is one of the teams that I've been most excited about, that it's just gonna be, they're just a good group of basketball players, but they're a fun group. So I'm having the best year ever.
Awesome. I'm sure we're all excited here. Thank you again, Coach Reiss, for coming on. We didn't even get to your Olympics experience. I'm just realizing now.
We'll
That's a
catch it
whole
another
nother-
time.
Another
You
time,
guys, you
for
can
sure.
have me anytime.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Best
Thank
of
you,
luck
Coach.
this season. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you guys. Have a great one and go Rhode.
Go Rhode.
Go
Thank
Rhody.
you, Coach.
Absolutely.
Go
That's going to
Rams,
do it
baby.
for us, folks. For Brandon, the Con Man Con, and Kyle, the Realist Real, this is Fiore calling game.